What's up, y'all? Welcome to Union Minded. I'm your host, Eric, and today we're going to be talking about Samuel Gompers. But before we get into Samuel Gompers, don't forget to hit the like button, hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, drop some comments, and if you got any ideas for topics that you'd like for me to talk about, drop them in the comment section. I'd appreciate it. Now let's get into it. So, who's Samuel Gompers? Well, Samuel Gompers was the first AFL president. He was also the longest serving president. He helped to develop labor's structure and characteristic strategies we still use today. The AFL under Gompers grew from 50,000 members in 1886 to 3 million in 1924. He forged a self-confident workers' organization dedicated to the principles of solidarity and mutual aid. He joined the United Cigar Makers Local 15 in 1864. While a member of the United Cigar Makers, Gompers socialized with a group of older socialists and labor reformers who he always credited for his commitment to trade unionism as the vehicle to social reform. He advocated craft or trades unionism, which is kind of exclusivism. Samuel Gompers, like many great leaders, wasn't all good, and there were bad traits to them as well. To him as well. We're all human beings. Nobody's all good. Nobody's all bad. There's always something in the middle. He did make some mistakes. One of the mistakes that he made was not supporting the shirtwaist factory garment workers who went on strike for shorter working hours and safer conditions. He didn't support them until they called a general strike for their industry anyway. And then after that movement garnered a lot of support, then the AFL came behind and started supporting them again. So there were mistakes made. He also didn't want to organize women. He also didn't want to organize minorities. So there were mistakes. You're talking about 1886 to 1924. This is a period in American history where it wasn't exactly all inclusive. But let's move forward. He believed in a pure and simple unionism that focused on economic rather than political reform to secure worker rights. He also thought it was best to be nonpartisan politically. He organized a national strike on May 1st, 1886 to draw attention to the need for an 8-hour workday. One of his famous quotes that's at the AFL headquarters is, "What does labor want? We want more schoolhouses and less jails, more books and less arsenals, more learning and less vice, more leisure and less greed, more justice and less revenge. In fact, more of the opportunities to cultivate our better natures, to make manhood more noble, womanhood more beautiful, and childhood more happy and bright." I think that's a pretty good quote. You see, Gompers was a labor leader who knew that none of what he envisioned would be possible without higher wages, safer working conditions, and shorter workdays. These were the things that he focused on primarily. Now, I'd like to take that quote and break it down in today's context. When he talks about more schoolhouses and less jails, I think what we can take from that is building more schools and less private prisons, decreasing the school-to-prison pipeline that many Title I schools in poor neighborhoods, especially neighborhoods where the majority is people of color. We need to fix those things because these are working families, and working families, when you support them, the rest of society benefits. When he talks about more books and less arsenals, to me, I think he's talking about reallocating our public resources away from the military industrial complex and towards public education. Our schools need funds. Our colleges, they should be free. More learning and less vice. Many working people today turn to vice due to the overstressed and overworked nature of the current economy. If we worked less, we would relieve some of the stressors and improve our health by breaking away from vice. I think if you work less hours, you'll be less stressed out. Maybe you'll drink less. Maybe you'll do whatever else you do less. More leisure and less greed. Again, this references a worker's time away from work. It's the greed of the owners that causes the worker to lose his natural right to leisure. We were not made to work 16-hour days. 8 hours of work, 8 hours of leisure, 8 hours of rest. More justice and less revenge. To me, this is all about the revenge that employers take on the outspoken who advocate solidarity, unionism, and brotherhood. He also says more opportunities to cultivate our better natures. Again, to me, this is about free time. When you know that the owners have stolen $50 trillion from workers over the last 50 years, to know that is to know it's more than just money is owed to workers. It's high time to reduce the hours of work per week and to increase the rate of OT to discourage its use to overwork workers, to satisfy owner greed. It's important for us as union members, union siblings. It's important for us to read the history of the labor movement so we can understand what the cost of having a union was. We got to understand that workers died fighting for the right to organize, the right to live a life of dignity, and the right to work less hours. We have to be the light for our siblings who haven't received the information yet. And there's many who haven't received the information yet. We organize people into unions very quickly, and we bring them in, but we never educate them on what the labor movement means. So we have to be those educators and be that light. We also have to be leery of members who use language like the extremists on both sides. That language is used to gaslight you into thinking that believing you deserve more from your tax dollars is the same as being a white nationalist fascist. The two ideologies could not be further from each other. Beware of the moderate who thinks everything is going great as the world around us collapses. And if only those extremists on the left would stop complaining, you'll see how great everything truly is. They're setting us up for disappointment. Whether that be our government continuing to be impotent when it comes to helping working families and yet begging for us to vote every November, or yet another poorly negotiated contract that leaves a bad aftertaste the more that time passes by. Make no mistake, friends, ultimately how the future unfolds will be determined by us. That's right, you and I. How much will we allow to happen by just being witnesses or not being part of the solution? Or will we organize, strategize, and mobilize to fix what the owners have broken? They have their managers, but we have the workers. All right? Remember that. My name is Eric. You're watching Union Minded. Don't forget, fight's not left and right. It's up and down. It's going to take solidarity to win always. Each one, teach one. Get your ass out there and reach one. All right? Peace.